And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. What a tale of two headlines there. On one hand, by the way, we commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. King. We certainly appreciate all those folks that truly cared about America and wanted America to be a colorblind society. And we share in Dr. King's vision. And it shows you how much the country has grown and come from the days when people were debating the legitimacy of the Dr. King holiday, that here we have so many people commemorating it, celebrating it today. It's interesting. The folks at the Broadcast Center, it's interesting. Usually, wherever I've worked, and again, it's not my decision, so there be it. But it's interesting when you think about it. Usually, we would get Dr. King's day off, but we would not get President's Day off. This company, for some reason, does it that way. But again, you think about what Dr. King has meant to the country. And certainly the troubling times that we live in today, it is a blessing that we have had Dr. King in our lives, and we honor his great work today and every day. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll take your calls about the issues that matter to you. Let's go to R&R, who starts us off very early. Good morning.
Hey, honored Kevin. I concur with everything you said, and I'm really honored to get to follow you, and what a beautiful lead-in. I agree, Dr. King. We are in America, United States, one America, and what a day to remember. I'm so eager to hear Ammon Bundy's voice via the airwaves, because fasting and prayer got him out of the hot spot, and I would have never left Oregon. It left me. And I'm to my point right now. Liberal Steve, this is a new year, a new decade, and new house rules. My house, my party, my rules. If you want to live in Oregon, go back with your potheads. You're going to come to Idaho. Hemp is hemp, and pot is pot. Your new name for me is R&R. My new name for you, a liberal Steve, is punk. You're either a punk, you're getting punked on national airways. I'm being broadcast clear to Portland, Oregon, and to Seattle, because I know people that know what you did in Wasco County, Oregon, 40 years ago. Stand accused and defend yourself, punk Steve. Pinko, commie, punk Steve. No longer liberal Steve. Bye-bye. Peace out. Love you, Kevin.
All right, R&R, love you. We appreciate that. And Liberal Steve already firing them up this morning. That's the magic of this show. And we wouldn't be anywhere without our contributors. Let's go to Russell Verney joining us from Project Veritas. Russell, good to have you with us.
Kevin, good morning. It's a pleasure to be on your show and an honor to visit with your listeners.
You know, for those folks that may or may not know of Project Veritas, we never want to assume that people know the great work, the cutting edge, the accountable work that you all do there. Could you give us a brief background, sir?
Sure. Project Veritas was basically started and made a big impact around 2009 when it investigated the ACORN, which is a community organizing company that was under contract from the federal government to do a lot of low-income screening of people and assisting them with benefits or applying for benefits. And ACORN did a sting where they went around to Project Veritas did a sting where they went around to ACORN offices all over the country and were posing as a pimp and a prostitute that wanted to set up underage brothels within low-income housing, and could they assist them in financing it. And they exposed an underbelly that was kind of shocking. They not only were offered assistance in setting up these units, but also were given advice on how to hide the money in the backyard so you didn't have to pay taxes on it, many other things. So Congress eventually took action and shut down the ACORN operation, which was about a $2 billion contract that they lost. Since then, we've done many investigations over the years and become far more professional at what we're doing. We've grown since the ACORN investigation, when James O'Keefe, the founder, was working out of his basement, operating off of his credit card. We're now about a $7 million a year operation and continuing to grow. on our website, projectveritas.com. You can see many of the investigations we've done into teachers' unions, into the Obama telephone scam that went on a while back. There's just dozens and dozens of investigations on there. And, everybody that we investigate immediately comes out and says that James O'Keefe does selective editing, as though there's something nefarious going on. Well, every one of our videos is in context, and not a one of them has ever been proven to be out of context or nefariously edited, and we've never issued a retraction. And most recently, this past year, we did investigations into CNN showing the fake news that they were putting on, that it was all about ratings for them, which is why they kept pushing the Russian story according to their own people and their own words. We did an investigation in the New York Times and to the Wall Street Journal. Most recently, last week, we released the first of a series of videos into Twitter. And what we found at Twitter, and this is after spending many months with our undercover investigators going in and meeting people and building relationships and working their way through the hierarchy of the company, we got reports from Twitter engineers that they were more than willing to share all their information, which is tweets, deleted tweets, direct messages, and mentions regarding Donald Trump with the Department of Justice. Now, think about that for a moment. That's pretty shocking that they would invade your privacy like that and share it with a government agency, and there was never a mention of any requirement of a subpoena. So we've continued going in and investigating different techniques that they use to determine what messages get displayed to people and who gets to see them. And they were quite honest in talking about shadow banning, which is where they ban you, but you don't know you've been banned because you can still post messages and some of your direct contacts will see it, but it can't be shared anywhere. It can't go any further than that. And what they're trying to do is, in their own words now, and you can see this at projectveritas.com on our website in the videos, that they're trying to ban a way of talking. If they don't like how you're talking, they want to ban it. One of the ways they do that is through algorithms or getting the machines or computers to do a lot of the censoring. And they give an example where they have thousands and thousands of keywords to describe a redneck. And the bottom line is that the majority of it is describing Republicans, and that's how they apply it. So they're definitely doing viewpoint discrimination as to whose messages get out, what the messages are. The computers are learning more and more every day to ban, and they're trying to ban certain ways of talking on there. And when Twitter says that we're a free speech platform, it's pretty chilling to think that it's free speech so long as you agree with their thought process and their ideology. If you disagree with it or if you have a differing viewpoint, they're going to discriminate against you and not allow you to use their platform and not have a wide range of contact. And, Kevin, we've got another video that will probably be coming out sometime today that I hope if we get it out today that many of you listeners will go to projectveritas.com and see it. It's, again, inside Twitter, and it's Twitter's own employees in their own words on videotape talking about the inner workings of the company, and it's pretty chilling.
Russell Verney joining us from Project Veritas on KIDO Talk Radio. Russell, when you go after these folks, what are the repercussions? Obviously, the libs aren't happy that you expose them, and then people have tried for years to get rid of you and James and Project Veritas.
That's correct. The first thing they do is they say, well, you took me out of context. Well, unfortunately for them, we have it all on videotape so we can check what the context was and prove what the context was. Then they say, well, you did nefarious, you did selective editing. Well, any video company, you look at the nightly news and you see a 30-second clip of the governor talking about something. That wasn't the entire clip. They recorded him probably for 20 minutes. That was the newsworthy part of the clip. and it had to be presented in context. That's what we do. We present the newsworthy portion of the interview in context. Not a one of ours has ever been officially challenged and proven wrong, but now we're seeing that some of the people that really oppose our viewpoint are trying to use the court system to get after us, and they're filing frivolous lawsuits in many instances, and we'll deal with them. It's not a big deal in the scheme of things, but it costs money and ties up our attention dealing with the legal matters that they bring up, which just are not going to go anywhere. They're not going to be successful with them. They're frivolous. We're opposed in the court of public opinion by saying that we selectively edit, which we don't, in the court of judicial opinion by bringing frivolous lawsuits, which we will overcome in time.
Russell, let's talk a little bit about these organizations that you've investigated, the New York Times, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, all of these groups, members of Congress that are uncomfortable with being exposed. What is the broader picture here? What does that say about these institutions?
Well, I think that the real reaction we get from each of them is that they don't like being exposed. They don't like their true, unbiased, or their unvarnished opinions being presented to the public. Because, again, we use undercover video investigations, so they don't know they're talking to a reporter. If I go up to them with a microphone in my hand that's got the logo of the radio or television station, they give me talking points. But if I sit down with them at a restaurant and have dinner and we're just talking like old friends, they become very candid in their comments. And when those candid comments are released publicly, they're embarrassed. And that's when they want to take action and get revenge. But their reactions are always overstated and never appropriate, and they fall flat. So, again, we have never had to issue a retraction. We've never had to pull one of our videos, and we've been challenged many times, but they've never stood. They don't stand up to challenges. So we're comfortable that we are presenting a valid viewpoint of the inner workings of whether it's a congressional office holder, or if it's a government agency, or if it's a media outlet.
Russell, if people would like to support Project Veritas, what can they do?
Well, folks can go to our website, projectveritas.com. Veritas is Latin for truth, Veritas. Projectveritas.com. And please spend a lot of time there, because there's some great video investigations over the years that are on that website of voter registration drives that are, we think, that are attempting to disrupt the electoral process, part of corruption. There's investigations of unions, there's investigations of politicians, government agencies, and, of course, most recently, the media. Now this week we're doing Twitter, and there'll be one coming out a little later today that you want to check at projectveritas.com.
Russell, thank you. You have a great day.
Kevin, thank you for having me on. Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, Russell Verney joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Forget about DACA. Forget about what happened in Hawaii over the weekend. Everybody's talking about, well, is he or isn't he the president, whether or not he's a racist? And if you watched any of the coverage of an issue that we brought to the forefront concerning the president, what he did, what he didn't say, whether you agreed with him or not, the media can't let it go. Coming up next, we'll get your thoughts at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Plus, to be part of your day, Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up next hour, How to Win Survivor. That's right, How to Win Survivor. If you watch season 35, Heroes, Healers, and Hucksters? Ben from Boise, that's right, a young man from Boise, won the entire $1 million. He will join us to talk about being on the show. You'll also hear his story about what it's like to be on the show away from your family. How do you keep those things such a secret? We'll talk to him coming up in the next hour. Boise's Ben from Survivor, the man who won Survivor. Just a really great guy. Can't wait for you to hear what he has to say. Also, we will have Ammon Bundy will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. We've been promoting that all weekend long. This will be Mr. Bundy's first radio interview. We will speak with him concerning what he's been through. Hopefully we'll get to have you take some questions. I don't think he'll have a problem with that. And we're just going to turn over the airwaves and hear what he has to say. Other news of the day, people are saying that the government's going to be shut down. We'll talk a little bit about that. And, of course, what happened in Hawaii. You know, again, I can hear, what is it, REM song, It's the End of the World as We Know It. All day long on Saturday, we heard from what's going on in Hawaii that all of a sudden Kim Jong-un fired a missile, and it was all because somebody pressed a wrong button. Right? Somebody pressed a wrong button. And everybody's in an outrage. I thought it was over. Children shouldn't have to go through this. Well, you're right about that. But and somehow they were trying to blame Trump for it, which, again, I don't seem to get. But, again, any way they can to blame Donald Trump for just about everything. By the way, the president did respond to people accusing him of being a racist. You'll hear that in a minute. First, KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:25. Let's get you to work. There we go. Kevin Miller in the morning here. The president was asked if he's a racist.
No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person you have ever interviewed. That I can tell you. Honestly, I don't think the Democrats want to make a deal. I think they talk about DACA, but they don't want to help the DACA people.
And there we have it. So Donald Trump defending himself over the weekend. Now, if those of you that, I don't know, maybe you're a masochist, maybe you like to watch what the other side does, and you are listening to some of the coverage. CNN just seemed to be enamored with saying the entire word. You know what I'm saying? The S-hole word. And again, I'm reluctant to even say that here because we are truly a family-friendly show. And I was watching CNN, and maybe you were doing this as well. The craziest thing that I saw on CNN was a young lady talking about how horrible Donald Trump saying that word was. By the way, there's no confirmation. And as the senator from Georgia said, look, well, according to multiple sources, he looked at George Stephanopoulos. Dude, there were 6 people in the room. Who said it? Dick Durbin? He's kind of gone off the tracks before. You know, where is the old journalism standby? 2, 3 sources. There isn't any. It's a great narrative. Donald Trump said a bad word. And, you know, I'd love to, maybe I'll replay that clip of Tucker Carlson that we played. I think he put it succinctly and politically correct the way it is. But the hypocrisy of everybody going, well, Donald Trump is horrible and this is bad for the children. And yet this is the network that continued to say the words over and over and over and over again. What is it that your parents used to teach you? No, not sticks and stones may break your bones, but you know what I'm saying, that when you respond to something, you just elevate it. Well, of course the media knows that. They're trying to, again, see, this is the 25th Amendment. Let's get rid of kooky Donald Trump, right? And let's face it, if those countries were so good, you wouldn't have so many people trying to come here.
Ours is not a old country, neither is Haiti or any other country in distress. And it's unfortunate that he makes those statements.
You go back to Haiti, and if you come to this country and you make something of yourself and then you try to go back to Haiti, they don't want you there. You know, El Salvador, years of civil war going back to the Sandinistas and everything else. Not every place is the United States of America. And, you know, you want to shock the progressive libs, you know, go live in those countries and you'll appreciate America. What was it? Senator Paul was defending the president. And nobody brought this up when the Haiti thing happened. That huge, you know, tsunami comes in, wipes everything out. Donald Trump was funding the relief efforts out of his own pocket. Now, is that someone who's a racist? But we don't hear that now, do we? Again, what they want to do is take down the president.
In every respect, what he is showing us is that he is a racist.
Right. And that's the thing, and we've seen this for the last 20 or 30 years. What do they have left? The card that always derails somebody, whether it's in life or wherever, is you're a racist. Donald Sterling was illegally taped saying some horrific things to his girlfriend. She didn't like being kicked off the payroll, so what happens? Donald Sterling loses the L.A. Clippers. Judge Roy Moore, he's a bad person. By the way, whatever happened to those allegations against Judge Roy Moore? Nothing, really. but it was enough to cost him the Senate. This is what they're doing here. And again, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, what does this do? It derails the serious conversations that need to happen. And by the way, most of you are off work today. Look, I don't blame you. I wish I could take today off. But somebody's got to be here. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it's just silly and ridiculous. And they're so full of themselves. We'll hear more of that next. Plus, time to wake up. We'd love to hear from you as well. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. No, just when I get used to Jim filling in for Larry will be back. Must be Monday. Happy Dr. King Day. Let's go back to the phones. We go to Cindy in Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Oh, dear, hard choice, but thanks for the one call. I really do mean that. I appreciate it. And, hey, Kevin Miller, I forgot I was getting ready for church yesterday, but I was up early. You've got great programming on your station. You had this Light of the World pastor. I was, so laughing, from Mexico, telling me to go on over to Nampa on 13th Street, 3000, because their church is open at 5 a.m., 9 a.m., and 6 p.m. every day of the week. I'm thinking, what a great name for a church, the Light of the World. And it's on your station. I actually listened for one whole hour, and that pastor was so spot on.
Oh, people love him.
Oh, so for you people out there.
We get a lot of good comments on him.
Great comments, but you know what, Kevin? I have to say, I don't know. This is, it doesn't surprise me with the left. I mean, someone coined a new term this morning, but the party of demolition and destruction, they're not, blue collar Democrats, Kennedy's Democrat. The tragic thing is that, today I met Alveda King in the state of Washington when she came to, I just say, a life vigil, trying to educate people. And, we had, the movies are out there, Silent Scream and Eclipse of Reason. And that is where the Democrat Party is at. I have to almost laugh. Here you have at the Capitol Day, someone from the diversity blah, blue, blah, the same diversity people worldview that were over in Oregon calling, a party that was standing for liberty and the use of a land, around that area, names. And here we have that the party, the D Party, I call them, who, if you could read, how about, Darwin, he was the most selective eugenicist on racism. He tried to do away, he thought, the blacks certainly didn't have the ability to, what he thought in evolution, that they would be part of their ridiculous ideas of evolution in this supposedly everything getting better when it's the worst. Or Margaret Sanger. I just say people, the party of the people that you support are the biggest racists, because where did Planned Parenthood put its clinics? In black, communities, because, the women, were having possibly, procedures done. So there is so much information out there with calling this president because he said a term. And actually, what this whole big thing is about culture and who to come into our country. And yes, you can vet people. Yes, you can ask people that have a skill level to come in instead of this insanity of chain migration. I gave big money to Haiti even when the Christian networks were, one of them was building a hospital before they had that tsunami. And the bottom line is the places are so corrupt. That's why Puerto Rico doesn't even have still lights on. I mean, these failed nation states, Cuba, Venezuela, because of all the corruption, not because of anything our president is doing or not. And he certainly is not. I've been called that many times. And many of my friends happen to be born, according to God, their skin color is black. So, I mean, I just know where they're at. They always want to demoralize. They always want to discourage. They just are trying to take this nation down. But once you get some good information out, go see who's the real racist when you're trying to eliminate an entire population group. It wasn't, quote, the Republican Party. It was the party that purported Margaret Sanger and Darwinism. So that said, there goes my call, but I'm all for the Bundys, and I certainly do hope we can get together and get something happening in the community to help them pay their lawyer bills, Kevin.
Well, we'll talk to Ammon Bundy today at 8. Of course, another good one today. We've got the guy who won Survivor.
I'm only laughing. I feel like in America today, each day that I wake up, by God's grace, I'm surviving the onslaught of the, I would say, statist, liberal, left agenda. So I don't, Kevin, I'm sorry to say, you know what, for you being out there, just, I could never, ever, ever just sit and listen to all the, I call it the other side, without getting rather, I won't say depressed, but I wouldn't want to do it. So thank you for being there. I see you as a survivor, and, you know, from your show on Friday, those are people that I see as survivors that can survive an onslaught of even their own, you know, maybe oppressive thoughts. I have no idea what that show is about, but good for him, whatever he survived.
Well, wait till you hear what he has to say. He's a character. You'll love him.
I will love him, Kevin, but I love you, and I love that light of the world. I got to get myself over to that that church. I thought it was hysterical.
Sure.
7 days a week, Kevin. They're like you. They're up early. They're up having church at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, Cindy, you give us a report on the church there, would you?
I sure will.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, and anybody that's, you know, Spanish speaking, I mean, I guess they'll do both. So that's, like, great. But here I am. I traveled to Mexico Sunday morning, right back over to Nampa. So that's pretty cool.
Cindy, God bless.
God bless, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. More of the faux outrage over the Trump alleged comments that he denies.
Norway, and you black nations, you're out of here.
It's really extraordinary, Stephanie. The theme for Davos is really creating shared space in a fractured world. Well, the President of the United States not just broke his leg, the arm, the skull of the world, but quite frankly, to quote an old and important statement, first they came for the Haitians, then they came for the Salvadorans, then they came from the Africans, and then they came for me.
Oh, now, hold on. Now, again, she's comparing Donald Trump to what happened in Nazi Germany. This is from MSNBC, folks. And you're saying, a lot of people say, Kevin, why do you play these clips on KIDO Talk Radio? Because, the seriousness, the faux outrage, as if they've never heard or never said that word. Like Dick Durbin, little Dickie Durbin, he should be ashamed of himself. Dick, you've never said that word? You've never said that word, Richard? Look, is it beneath the dignity of the office? Yes. Was it necessary for everybody to publicize it to try and demean the president? No.
At a really tough moment in American history, we really have to stand for the values that make this country who we are and what every single one of us is, an immigrant.
Yeah, we are at a tough moment in our nation's history.
Now, wait a minute. Here's the other issue. Don't you have freedom of expression? Didn't Larry Flint, the publisher of Hustler, the pornographer, go to the Supreme Court to make sure that speech, no matter what you said, no matter how offensive, was defended? That the First Amendment covered that? And yet now Donald Trump, we don't even know if Trump said it. All right?
And this week does feel like a presidency that's coming off the rails. Ambassador Wendy Sherman, Malcolm Nance, and Raul Reyes, thanks to all of you for this.
Ali, it's not about politics.
No.
It's about decency.
That is correct.
And what we have seen in the last 24 hours, what has me the most upset, I don't want this to be in the history books that my children are going to grow up with. Last night at dinner, at my house, we do roses and thorns, and we say the worst part of your day and the best part of your day. And in front of my kids, I couldn't tell them what the worst part of my day was, and it was the President of the United States who did it. And
well, again, if something's so bad, aren't we taught just to move on from it? Instead of bringing this up, and this is bad, and this is horrible, and my kids. What about the rap lyrics? What about what's on network television? What about, really, what's on radio? Some of the stuff that goes on, some of the language that is used, even in this market. There are people that say bad words all the time. They think they're funny, and they're not. Maybe that's how they really feel, I suppose. But the idea that we're all immune to this is rather absurd and ridiculous.
That isn't politics, that's just sad.
We can only hope that this will be an asterisk in a very noble American history when it comes to immigrants and taking people in from tough places. Look, there are all sorts of places. That's why people come to America. But we respect that. We know that when you come here, you come to work harder than you probably did at home, whether you came here of your own volition or by force. This has been...
Right, but how do you explain all the welfare benefits and all the tax breaks and everything else the lawbreakers get? Now, the people that come here legally, God bless them. Thank you. Thank you for improving our country. But the other folks that come in and the crimes that have been committed by these people, and that if you mention that, you're a bad person.
In a country about people coming here and making it into what it is today. So we're not finished with this fight.
It's one voice, and there are millions of voices in this country. We're going to have much more on the ambassador resign.
So there we have it at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. The media has, again, gone off the tracks. And I think to myself, is this all they have? And then you have people actually blaming Trump for standing up to Kim Jong-il. Because, well, you've upset him. Really? So the president of the United States has said that his predecessors, both Republican and Democrat, have ignored a situation for quite some time. We can't ignore it anymore. We're standing up to this guy. Some nitwit in Hawaii presses the button, and all of a sudden we've got REM. It's the end of the world as we know it. Well, when we're dealing with dangerous people that want to kill us, that's the risk we face. And by the way, the only person that's probably hurt by this in Hawaii is the person that didn't get fired. They got reassigned, number one, for pressing the wrong button. And number two, the entire tourism of Hawaii is probably going to take a massive hit. So if you're looking to go somewhere during the cold, I know it'll be colder in February and March, probably great deals in Hawaii. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Thank you, Ray Amaya. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And if you notice something, the news media today, with the exception of talk radio, particularly here in the Treasure Valley, KIDO Talk Radio on FM at 107.5 FM or AM 580 AM, or on our KIDO app, which we're doing a soft launch. You can go to the App Store and pick up the KIDO Talk Radio app, and that means when you're around, you can just press a button. You don't have to go through the crazy steps of the Radio Pop app where you have to pick from 75 stations. You just, boom, you're there, and you can catch whatever show that you like as it's happening right here at KIDO Talk Radio. So, you ever notice that the news media today, I don't know about the local media, but the national media, okay, all day Saturday, it was Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. Before that, it was Trump said this, Trump said this. There's, and maybe it's just a lack of diversity in the news, but they, instead of informing people, okay, this is going on here, we've got bad weather here, it's just more and more about the same stuff. In other words, they're branding and reinforcing a message as opposed to informing and giving both sides of the story.
Democratic Senator Dick Durbin said the president used an expletive to describe African nations during an immigration meeting, but Republicans who were also there say that's not true. Georgia Senator David Perdue weighed in on ABC's This Week.
I'm telling you he did not use that word, George, and I'm telling you it's a gross misrepresentation. It's not the first time Senator Durbin has done it.
The president says Democrats don't really want a deal on DACA, saying they want to take money away from the military, referring to a possible government shutdown by the end of the week. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
And there we have it. So we have Dick Durbin, who has said something without it being substantiated by anybody else. And I was watching this week, and again, I don't have a life, so you do. And, George Stephanopoulos wouldn't let it go, and he goes to Senator Perdue, well, multiple sources. And he looks at him and goes, multiple sources? There were 6 people in the room. George, let it go. But again, that plays to the narrative of Donald Trump's bad. Donald Trump's a racist. Never mind, you take a look at what Donald Trump has done in the community, and, it just blows your mind. That is one issue. Number two is what happened in Hawaii. And we heard people saying that they thought it was over. Well, yes. That's what happens when you deal with someone that has no logic. I understand somebody makes a mistake. Heck, we all make mistakes. Should there have been a safeguard? Yes. Should we have the mass hysteria? Probably not. Should there have been a correction and let people think for 40 minutes that they were done, that they were toast, that they were nuclear annihilated, crisp and burning things? And then Jake Tapper, if you missed this one, he goes, well, I'm glad the president was on his golf course and not watching Fox and Friends. As if the president would launch an attack against North Korea. Here is the situation, and it's been ignored by everybody. It's been ignored by everybody. You're dealing with a man who had his own brother killed, who killed his own uncle. And by the way, what was it? 2020 did a special on it where Kim Jong-un executed his uncle with an aircraft gun, a 50-millimeter aircraft gun. Just blew the guy to bits. This is the maniacal mind of the 20-something-year-old dictator. He doesn't care about the people of Hawaii. He doesn't care about the people of America. He starves his own people like his daddy and his granddaddy did. He killed his own brother. He killed his own uncle. So the idea that we're going to blame President Trump or the United States of America for saying, well, we've got to deal with this guy is absurd. And those of you that grew up in the duck and cover days, you know what I'm talking about, where they would have drills and all of a sudden people would get under their desks as if that would stop the nuclear fallout, if that would stop the radiation. Look, it's simply game over. And these are not games that we're dealing with these people. The Chinas, the Russians, the North Koreans. And you go over that fear that happened in Hawaii, not much you can do. They're putting kids in storm sewers and stuff. I got news for you. That's not going to save people when the nuclear bombs hit. But it's a seriousness that most of us in our lifetimes, because we haven't had the scares of people that grew up in the heart of the Cold War have had, right? We're tuned into better late than never. We play our games on our devices. We live for recreation, but freedom isn't free. That's the lesson of what happened in Hawaii. KIDO Talk Radio time is 6:56.
In every respect, what he is showing us is that he is a racist. Let me put it to you this way. Mental instability, mendacity, now bigotry. Having any one of those in the White House is dangerous. Having the combination, that's lethal.
I'm telling you, he did not use that word, George, and I'm telling you it's a gross misrepresentation. How many times do you want me to say that? What is happening here is the same thing that happened in 2013, where you had a press secretary of your president who said it didn't happen. What did happen in that meeting was a very constructive conversation about how to move forward.
I didn't hear it, and I was sitting no further away from Donald Trump than Dick Durbin was. And I know what Dick Durbin has said about the president's repeated statements is incorrect.
I was in a meeting directly afterwards where those who had presented to the president our proposal spoke about the meeting, and they said those words were used before those words went public.
I don't know if it's defensible, and it's disturbing to see so many people with such short-term memory and the inability to recall a conversation.
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I thought the full outrage business couldn't get any more extreme than it has, and yet here over the weekend a bunch of whining, crying folks about words, and shame on all those people that said that word again and again and again, as if to say, well, what about my kids? Well, you're saying it. They should be embarrassed of themselves. And what about the presumption of innocence, right? What about with the president? Does he deserve that? Coming up next, Ben, who won Survivor, how he won $1 million. He'll share his tips with you and me. Kevin Miller next on KIDO Talk Radio.